Hi, this is Jeff Recaro, and I'm your host with the Eagle's Nest. And I'm here today with our athlete, Gavin Taylor. Gavin, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing at Maple Mountain, what events you're doing, and what year you are in high school.
So I'm a senior and I'm on the track and the cross country team. The events I run in the track is mainly the 400 and the 200, and then I run a couple of relays like the 4x4, the medley, and sometimes I run the 4x1.
Very good. So, without having a lot of meets and everything being kind of shut down, what have you been doing with yourself to keep busy and try to keep in shape?
Well, recently I picked up longboarding, and I go longboarding with my brother and my sister. And also, I've been working a lot more since I work at the grocery store, and everybody's kind of been panic buying a little bit, so I've had to pick up a couple extra hours there.
That's great. Yeah, there's quite a few of the athletes that are picked up a lot more work recently because they're not competing and doing other things. Some people have been spending a little bit of time watching movies or other things. And one of the questions we've been asking the athletes is, what is your favorite sports themed movie and why is that your favorite?
So, if I'm going to be honest, I don't really watch sports movies that much, but one of the ones that I've seen a couple of times is McFarland USA. And it's specifically about running, and I think it teaches about how we can triumph even though we have bad circumstances.
That's great, and that's a great message, even for today, and in this weird state that we're in with the COVID-19 and all the suspension and stay home, stay safe stuff. So that's a great message. Um, if you had to tell me who you have that's kind of a sports hero or somebody that inspires you, who would that be?
So one person that's been a hero to me for track is my coach, one of my coaches, Coach Charles. He currently teaches at the junior high, but he was a mentor to me, and he has taught me everything I know about running. And yeah, he's just been really good to me.
That's great. And coaches do play an important part in an athlete's development. And, they're usually there at practice helping you work on techniques and try to shave a little bit of time off. As you think about being at practices and working on your events, what would you say that you and your teammates do to kind of have fun and not let it be the same thing over and over again?
Well, at cross country, we usually run in a group so that we can all talk to each other and we kind of joke around a bit. And then sometimes we kind of poke fun at Coach Lake, who will make us run extra laps as punishment, thinking that he can punish the cross country team by making us run more.
Yeah, I could see that. Go run some more. Okay, well, we just did a warm up. Now we're going to do a cool down. You bet. We'll go run some more. Oh, that's funny. So when you're getting ready to do your events and compete in a meet, what do you kind of do to calm yourself and get in the zone?
To calm myself, I usually focus on my breathing. I take deep breaths in and deep breaths out. And then oftentimes I'll stretch a lot before, and I'll be jumping up and down, and I'll be constantly moving around so that I don't get the jitters in me. That way I'll be able to stand still while I'm standing on my starting blocks.
That's great. And when did you start realizing that you wanted to run and do track in high school?
Well, I was originally not planning on doing track or cross country, but in seventh grade, when I was around 12 or 13, my mom kind of forced me to do cross country. And from there, I did cross country till eighth grade. But every year since seventh grade, I've been doing track up until this year when it was canceled.
Okay, and that's a lot of running, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
miles. um, with that, what is your favorite memory from all of those track meets throughout high school?
One notable thing is at one of our meets, I brought an entire gallon of chocolate milk. And after I finished my 400 race, I went and did the gallon challenge with the chocolate milk. And it's probably the worst idea I've ever had. And every time I see that brand of chocolate milk at a store, I just kind of cringe.
Oh, I can imagine. I know my kids when they were younger tried the gallon challenge and it didn't end well. So I can only imagine after running a 400, kind of leaving it out there on the track, how that would end up. So that's quite a visual there. Um, Throughout your time competing, there's probably a lot of really great places that you've competed with both cross country and track. Where would you say is your favorite venue that or place that you've competed at?
Well, I really like the BYU track because it's a blue track, so it's not only is it nicer on your eyes, but it's not as hot. And also the track is made out of a different material than any of the tracks I've ever competed on. It's like super soft and it really feels better to run on. So it's one of the favorite places I've ever competed at.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the funner places. They have a really high quality Mondo track there, and yeah, having the different colors definitely different than being in all the dark and other colored tracks that you end up running on. What are you looking forward to doing when you get out of high school?
Well, after I graduate this year, I'm going to go head over to UVU and for a semester. Then I'm going to head on to my mission. And once I come back, I'm going to go to the University of Utah and study biomedical engineering.
Very good. So it sounds like you've got a lot of good learning opportunities and academic work ahead of you. Um, let's see. So probably one of the last questions that we would ask here is, as a senior, and especially this year where you've had an opportunity to kind of sit back and think about the season, think about your career in high school, and think about all those times. What words of advice or words of wisdom would you give to those who are following behind you?
Well, one thing I would say is that with all the practices, it seems like the payoff isn't very big since you're practicing 4 days a week. And then you have a meet where you only run like 4 events that take like maybe a minute at most, unless you're running like a distance. And you don't think you're improving that much. But if you work hard every day, then eventually you'll see yourself improve. And that's what makes competing fun.
That's great advice, and it is all of these sports, all of the times you're practicing, all of the times you're competing, you're actually trying to perfect or get better at your craft, and so definitely does every piece makes a difference. Well, we want to thank you, Gavin, for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So we've been speaking with Gavin Taylor, a Maple Mountain athlete who's been involved with cross country and track and field. And we want all of you to make sure that you get time to follow us, like us, subscribe to our different social media. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook as Maple Mountain Sports, all one word. And we are Maple MTN Sports on Twitter. And again, follow us and you'll be able to see more interviews with athletes like Gavin and other athletes that we've had this year, especially right now where we're trying to spotlight some of the seniors that didn't get an opportunity to kind of complete their last season. So again, I thank you for joining me and Gavin today. And this is your host, Jeff Percaro, and this has been the Eagle's Nest.